everyone, I'm Lauren from A Menagerie of Stitches. Welcome to my channel and welcome back to the 12 days of mini Christmas amigurumi. I'm so excited you're here. If you're just joining us and are wondering what is the 12 days of mini Christmas amigurumi, let me give you a quick rundown. The 12 days leading up to Christmas, I'll be sharing a new tutorial for a mini amigurumi. They're small projects that work up quickly and are a great size for ornaments or an advent calendar. Yesterday was day 1 and we made this adorable hot cocoa. If you'd like to go back and make this, I'll leave a link in the description to the video. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a day. If you prefer an ad-free PDF version of these patterns, you can purchase the downloadable PDF on my website, amenagerieofstitches.com. Before I reveal the mini for day 2, let's go over the materials you'll need for today's project. For day 2, I'll be using Hobbii Friends Cotton 8-4, and this is a weight 1 or a superfine yarn. We're going to need the colors Waterfall, which is color number 129, White, which is color number 1, Rose, which is color number 44, and Cranberry, color number 42. These projects are small enough that you'll only need one skein of each color. This is a great stash busting project, so feel free to use whatever type of yarn you already have on hand. You'll also need a B 2.25mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, 6mm safety eyes, black embroidery floss. This is optional, but you can either use white or this DMC Metallic E5200 thread. You'll need a stitch marker, straight pins, a yarn needle, thin cardboard like from a cereal box, and then you'll also need some polyfill fiberfill. All right, let's reveal day 2. It's a tiny snow globe with even tinier snowflakes. For this pattern, you'll need to know how to make a magic ring, how to single crochet, and how to invisible decrease. You'll also need to know how to work in the back loops only. Video tutorials for how to do these techniques can also be found in the description below. Let's get started. We're going to start by making the globe with this color, Waterfall. To begin, I'm going to start with round 1 and we're going to make a magic ring with 6 single crochet inside. So I'm just making my magic ring and now I'll place 6 single crochets inside. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then I'll take this shorter tail and I will pull the loop closed. Now let's move on to round 2. Round 2 says increase in each stitch around for 12 stitches. So that just means I'll place 2 single crochets into each of these stitches until I end with 12 stitches. There's 1, 2. Now in the next stitch, I'll place 2 single crochets. 1, 2. All right, and that's going to be the end of round 2. I'll place my stitch marker in the last stitch to hold my place. Now let's move on to round 3. Round 3 says to single crochet 1, increase 6 times for 18 stitches. So that just means I'll place 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and in the next stitch, I'll place 2 single crochets for an increase. So 1, 2. So let's do that again. Single crochet 1, and then increase in the next stitch. 1, 2. Repeat that all the way around until you end at your stitch marker. All right, and that's the end of round 3. Now let's move on to round 4. Round 4 says to single crochet 2, increase 6 times for a total of 24 stitches. So we'll place 1 single crochet into the first stitch, another single crochet into the second stitch, and in the third stitch, we'll put 2 single crochets together for an increase. So single crochet 1, single crochet 2, and then place an increase in this stitch. And we'll just repeat that all the way around until we get to our stitch marker. And that's going to be the end of round 4. Moving on to round 5, the pattern says to single crochet 3, increase 6 times for 30 stitches. So that just means I'll place 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches, and then in the next stitch, I'll place an increase with 2 single crochets together. So 1, 2, 3, and then we'll increase in the next stitch. 1, 2. And then we'll just repeat that until we hit our stitch marker. And this is going to be the end of round 5. Moving on to rounds 6 through 10, the pattern says to single crochet 30. So that just means for those rounds, we're just going to single crochet in each stitch around every single time. So single crochet 1 in each of these stitches. And this is going to be the end of round 6. Now for 7 through 10, I'm going to do the same exact thing, and I'll meet you back here. Now that we've crocheted rounds 6 through 10, your shape should look like this. Now we're going to move on to the next part of the pattern, and we're changing to white yarn now. So on my last stitch of round 10, I did not finish it. You can see it here in my stitch marker. So I'm going to take out the stitch marker, and to change colors, I'm going to insert my hook and yarn over, and then I'll have 2 loops on the hook. Then I'm going to drop the blue yarn, and I'm going to bring in the white yarn, put it over my hook, and pull through to complete the stitch. Then I'll tighten that blue thread down, and that's my color change. So my last stitch is going to be this last blue stitch, and that's where I'll put my stitch marker. Now for rounds 11 and 12, we're going to single crochet 30. This is just like we did for rounds 6 through 10, but I'm just going to be using the white yarn now. And here's what it should look like after you've completed rounds 11 and 12. Now, because we still have this blue yarn on, I'm going to fasten it off and secure it. So you're just going to trim the yarn, and you're going to secure it with the white yarn that you joined with. So there should be 2 tails, 1 white and 1 blue. We'll just tie a knot and then trim this down. Tuck that tail inside of there, and there you go. Now it's time to add the safety eyes. We're going to add the safety eyes between rounds 9 and 10, placing them 4 stitches apart. So with your crochet hook, you can just count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I'm going to insert my hook just to open that stitch a little bit so that it makes it easier to get the safety eye in. Then we're going to space them 4 stitches apart. So you'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the 5th stitch, that's where you will put your safety eye. All right, just like that. Now I'm going to wait and hold off on putting the safety backings on, and we're going to add the smile. If you're unfamiliar with how to make a smile, I do have a video showing how to do this that you can check out, and I'll have a link down below. And then I'm just going to secure this with a knot. All right, and there's our smile. Next, I'm going to add the pink cheeks, and right here, we're going to add these underneath the safety eye. So you'll insert into a little stitch hole, pull this through, and then we'll insert back into one of the stitch holes next to it. And now we will repeat that for the other side. All right, and I'll just secure that with the little knot. And now I'll add the safety backings to the eyes. All right, and there's our face. Now, if you want to, you can melt the back of your safety eyes, and I do have a video on that as well. It'll be linked down below. Now that we've completed the face, let's move on to round 13 of the globe. The pattern says to single crochet 3, invisible decrease 6 times for a total of 24 stitches. So that just means we'll single crochet in the first 3 stitches, and then in the next 2, we'll make an invisible decrease. So single crochet 1, 2, 3, and now we'll make our invisible decrease. So insert your hook into the front loops of the next 2 stitches, yarn over and pull through those loops, and you'll have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through again, and that's your invisible decrease. So just repeat that sequence all the way around until you hit the stitch marker. And that's going to be the end of round 13. Now that it's starting to close the piece, we're going to start adding our fiber fill. Just start by adding a little bit at a time and then just pushing it into the sides. Sometimes I like to roll it so that way it's easier to place into the item. All right, so that's about good for now. We'll continue adding as we start to close the piece more. So moving on to round 14, the pattern says to single crochet 2, invisible decrease 6 times for a total of 18 stitches. So we'll do the same thing we just did. You'll single crochet 1, single crochet 2, and then we'll take those next 2 stitches and make an invisible decrease. So 1, 2, and then we'll make an invisible decrease. And repeat that all the way around until you hit the stitch marker. And that's going to be the end of round 14. Now, if you need to, you can continue adding fiber fill, but I will hold off and wait until after we've done round 15. So round 15 says to single crochet 1, invisible decrease 6 times for a total of 12 stitches. So I'm just going to single crochet in the first one, and in the next 2, I'll make an invisible decrease. And I'll just repeat that all the way around. And that's going to be the end of round 15. Now I'm going to continue adding fiber fill. And you can use the end of your crochet hook or a chopstick to get into those little crevices. And then you can kind of smush it to get the shape you want. Now let's move on to round 16. Round 16 says to invisible decrease 6 times for a total of 6 stitches. So that means we'll just make an invisible decrease in each of the 2 stitches. So you'll make 1 invisible decrease, and then you'll move on to the next 2 stitches and make an invisible decrease. And you'll just do that all the way around until you hit the stitch marker. All right, and that's going to be the end. Now I'm going to fasten off and leave a little bit of a string for sewing. Now to fasten off and close the piece, you're just going to pull this tail all the way through, like so. Now we have to close up this hole, and I'm going to take a yarn needle. Now we'll work from the inside to the out, going underneath the front loop only of the stitches, the 6 stitches that we have left. And I'll insert and I'll pull it through. And then repeat. So go back to the next stitch over and pull through. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And on the 6th one, you'll put your finger, your thumb next to the hole, and then you'll just pull this tail and it'll close up that hole. Then you'll insert your needle into the middle of that hole and pull it through on the side. Then just give it a nice little tug and it will close the piece up for you. I also have a video tutorial on how to do that if you need more of an in-depth look. Then I'm just going to secure this tail with a knot. Then you'll just trim. And I like to use a smaller crochet hook to pull that knot through. And there you go, that's our little globe. Now that we've finished the globe, it's time to add the snowflakes. You can use white or metallic floss, whichever you prefer. I just like the sparkles that the metallic thread adds. For the thread, it's made up of 6 strands, but we'll only be using 2 of them. So when you cut it, you'll just split it down so that you have 2 strands instead. The snowflakes are made up of 3 lines that overlap in the center. So I'm going to start by going into the snow globe. So you'll insert your needle and come up to the blue space. You'll pull your needle through until that little knot comes, and then we'll hide this little piece later. So the snowflake is made up of 3 lines like I mentioned, and it's basically an X with a line in the middle. So you'll just place your needle down, and then you'll come out on the side and then pull through so you have a line. Now we're going to cross over that. So you'll bring your floss through, insert your needle back into the snow globe, and then you can come up on the top here to make your next line. So I'm going to pull this through. And these also don't have to be perfect because they're snowflakes. So then this next one, you can see that it then creates a little snowflake. So I'll insert my needle back into the snow globe. I'm going to go to a different area where I want my next snowflake to be to pull the needle through. And I'll just pull that through. And then you can kind of adjust the floss as well. And that's going to be the snowflake. So we'll do that all over the snow globe. Now once you've finished your snowflakes, just weave your needle back down through to the bottom, and then we'll secure this with a knot. Then just trim the tail, and now we'll take our smaller crochet hook and we'll hide these little tails that we have. So just insert it into a hole and then pull those little tails through. All right, and all of those tails are now in, and that is going to be our finished snow globe with the snowflakes. Now let's move on to the base of the snow globe. We'll be using this cranberry colored yarn, and the pattern says for round 1 to 6 single crochet into a magic ring. So I'm just going to make my magic ring, and then I'll make the 6 single crochet inside. All right, now let's move on to round 2. Round 2 says to increase in each stitch around for 12 stitches. So I'm going to place 2 single crochet into each stitch. And that's 12 stitches. I'm going to place my stitch marker in that last stitch to hold my place. Now let's move on to round 3. Round 3 of the pattern says to single crochet 1, increase 6 times for 18 stitches. So I'm going to single crochet 1, and then I'll increase in the next stitch, and I'll just repeat that all the way around. And that's going to be the end of round 3. Moving on to round 4, the pattern says to single crochet 2, increase 6 times for a total of 24 stitches. So I'm just going to place 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches and then increase in the next stitch. And that's going to be the end of round 4. Moving on to round 5, the pattern says to single crochet 3, increase 6 times for a total of 30 stitches. So I'll just place 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches, and then the following stitch I'll make an increase. And that's going to be the end of round 5. Let's move on to round 6. The pattern says in back loops only, single crochet 30. So if you were to look at your stitches, it looks like a V. The one in the back is going to be your back loop, and the one in the front is your front loop. So you'll just insert your hook into the middle of that V to grab the back loop. And we'll just single crochet in each of those back loops. Oops. And then as you work the piece, you can see that the rim is starting to shape. And that's going to be the end of round 6. We're going to pause here to make the cardboard base. Trace the bottom and cut out until it fits within this area. To make the base of the snow globe more flat, we're going to use a thin piece of cardboard, and you'll want to make sure that when you cut it out, it fits on the inside of the rim. Then we're just going to place this inside of the base, and we'll continue on with the rest of the rounds. Let's move on to round 7 of the pattern. It states to single crochet 3, invisible decrease 6 times for a total of 24 stitches. So I'm just going to single crochet 1 into the first 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to make an invisible decrease. And I'll repeat that all the way around until I hit the stitch marker. And that's going to be the end of round 7. Now let's move on to round 8 of the pattern. It says to single crochet 2, invisible decrease 6 times for a total of 18 stitches. So we'll single crochet 1, 2, and then we'll invisible decrease. All right, and that's going to be the end of round 8, and that finishes off our base. So now I'm just going to take my yarn and fasten off, and I'm going to leave a tail because I need to sew this on. And then you'll just take this tail and pull it all the way through. And now I'm going to make a clean fasten off. So with my yarn and a yarn needle, you're going to go into not the first stitch, but the second stitch. Go under both loops, pull it through, and then I like to pull it to the front so it's out of the way. And then in that last stitch that we made, you'll go into the back loop only, and you'll go underneath, and then you'll pull this through. And don't pull too tight because you don't want the stitch to be too tight. But it essentially creates like a little invisible stitch for us. And then we'll leave this tail for sewing. Next, I'm going to be adding fiber fill to the base. And when doing it, you can use a chopstick to make sure that you get into the edges. Once you're happy with how much stuffing you have, you're going to place the base onto the bottom of the snow globe. Make sure that it's even, and then I like to take straight pins and pin the base into place. Now with your yarn needle, I like to hold it upside down, and then what you're going to do is you'll insert the needle into the snow globe, and you'll come out, and then while you're coming out, you're going to grab onto a stitch from the base. And we're essentially doing a whip stitch. So then you'll just pull this, and now we'll wrap it back and go into the snow globe again, like such. And then we're going to catch one of those loops from the base, and then we'll pull this through. So as you can see, it's creating a little line right there, and that's basically a whip stitch. So let's do that all the way around, and then you'll remove the pins as you go. And then you can just make sure that you're happy with how it's going. as you're sewing it. And then once you reach the end, just poke your needle through one of the stitch holes and pull this through. And then I'm going to secure this with a knot. And then just trim. And then with a smaller crochet hook, just take that tail and hide it inside the base. All right, and there you have it, our little snow globe. And here's our finished snow globe. I think this one is my favorite just because of all the little snowflakes. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like this video and leave a comment. Make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the rest of the 12 days of mini Christmas amigurumi. I'll see you all back here tomorrow for another festive mini. Happy crocheting, friends!